All right, guys, in this video, I want to go over the teep kick. This is because several of you have asked me for a while to make a video on how to throw a teep kick. And then in the community, I randomly throw some questions out about like what techniques you want to work on. And then some questions about the teep kick came up again. Just in general, look, the teep kick is a valuable and very important weapon in your Muay Thai or even kickboxing arsenal. So I guess it's time to just put my hat in the ring as far as how I see the technique, how I teach the technique, the technical aspects of my teep kick, and then I want to show you some of the drills that I use to strengthen it, stay balanced, improve it, all those things. And lastly, I'm just going to cover a few ways to handle people defending your teep kick, because that has also came up in the community board. Some people ask me some questions on what to do when people catch your teep kick and so forth, so I figured I'd throw that in at the end. Now, we refer to the teep kick as a foot jab. Now, I want you to keep that in mind when I explain the technical aspects of how I teach a teep kick, because I see it as a jab. We use the jab offensively, obviously, right? To move forward, to press, to close distance, to check distance, to probe, to attack. It's so versatile. Another thing besides offense is you also use a jab defensively to deal with an aggressive opponent. The teep is on the same line as that. It's why we call it a foot jab. Offensively, you would use a teep to attack. You stand in front of your opponent and you attack. You use your teep kick offensively to push them back, to set up other combinations. It's an offensive weapon and it's an effective one. On the defensive side, you've got an aggressive or advancing opponent, and when they come forward, you use your teep to keep distance or to kind of stab them, to stop them advancing, to keep them from pushing you back. This is why the teep kick is so important in Muay Thai, and it's why it's one of our most valuable weapons. Again, it maintains your distance, your range. It controls an aggressive opponent. It can start your combinations. And one of my favorite parts, it can take the life of your opponent a little bit. What I mean by that is, like, if you train or spar, you've taken teep kicks that take a little bit of your energy, your cardio, your breath. It just feels, ugh. Again, if you train, you've had that feeling. It's one of the reasons a lot of my students bring up how much they hate teep kicks on the receiving end. They start getting their combinations going and they eat a teep, shuts it all down. Briefly or completely, but it's very effective. Now let's go into how we go about throwing it properly. Number one, guys, to have a strong teep kick, you have to be balanced, okay? So, to be balanced, your foundational leg, you hear me say this all the time, this is the leg that needs to be strong. But it's also where are you putting your hips? The mistake that I often see is that when people go to throw a teep kick, their shoulders rise, their head rises, and they pick their knee up like this. And then when they throw their teep kick, they're hitting with the bottom part of the foot towards the heel, or the foot hits flat. If your foot hits flat, you're probably going to tip backwards if they just step forward. If they stand their ground, they're going to probably knock you back. And that should be an indicator that you have lifted it way too high. This part of your foot should just never connect, if you can help it. It should be the ball of your foot, from the middle of your foot to the tip of your toes. If you could see what I'm doing with my foot, that is how your teep should connect. That way, your foot is kind of downward and not up, like this. See, this creates imbalance already, and I don't even have someone in front of me. When I go like this and they push, game over. Or if they're solid and balanced themselves and I try to push them, and my shoulders, my head, and my foot is too high, that's why you're off balance. So what I teach is that you should have, of course, bad posture in Muay Thai in general, right? In my turtle shell, my shoulders are up, I'm forward, chin down. I don't pick my shoulders up that much, if at all. I'm forward, my knee comes up like this. Just because my knee comes up, it does not mean I have to tilt my upper body. That's the mistake that's being made. I'm here, I pick my knee up at first. Then when I'm about to extend, then I extend backwards. Now what's important is when I extend everything, to get that push, my chin stays forward, my head stays forward. Almost like I'm trying to keep my head in line with my foundational leg. I don't want to lean too far back. That creates the imbalance. But there is a lean there so I can open my hip. You see? So I'm here. Boom. Again. Boom. That keeps me balanced. It's almost as if right before I land, I keep my shoulders forward as long as I can. This keeps my head forward. This keeps me balanced. And then chin forward, chin down, excuse me. Now, the last part is pulling your hips back. When you pick up your knee, extend, you got to pull your hips back. The details as to why: number 1, balance; 2, power; 3 is what I'll cover at the end as far as defense. Extending and pulling back is what's keeping you strong and balanced. It's keeping all of this center strong. Here. So it goes out and it pulls back as if someone tied a rope around my waist and they yank my hips back. Here. So I want you to imagine a bucket. Your foot's in like a bucket of water. You pick up your foot, boom, you put it back in that bucket. The biggest mistakes we see, again, people teep, put their foot outward. Number 1, you're off balance, you're extended forward. If anyone's any good standing in front of you, they're going to start eating this leg, or just kick your leg out. Take your foundations. So, foot comes out of the bucket, hit, pull back, back into the bucket. Hit, pull back, back into the bucket. If you notice, the bottom foot placement, it's at this 45-degree angle. Boom, pull. It's not like this. I see this. This creates a flexibility issue. If my foot's like this and I'm trying to kick like that, I can't even comfortably demonstrate how bad that is. So it's here. And then if you want to make a long teep, you can extend out. Now that's when you might have to step forward because you extend to hit and you can't quite pull your hips back. That's okay. Long teep, or you elevate, make it even longer, and you just reset your stance. If you do like a skipping teep, reset your stance. Now defensively, if you notice, when I throw my teep, it's right here. There's a bend. Another mistake that's often made is you bend too much. Slight bend so I can extend. Sometimes we're taught, or you will see instructors teaching, to keep it straighter. Now, when I teach that, I use that for defense. If someone's advancing, I don't want to have my knee bent too much, because if they close really fast, they slam into that foot and knock me off balance before I can uncork my teep kick. So I'm going here and I want to uncork it, and they close super fast, and then they jam my teep before I extend it, and that will knock me back. That may be what's happening to your teep. So if it's defense, then you want to pick it up a little straighter. Here, it's a little straighter. See? And then when they come forward, they run into this like your foot, like this straight leg, this strong leg. Boom. Right? Your leg is nice and straight. It's not compacted. Here, defensive, boom. Defensive, boom. So that's the difference in how I use an offensive teep and a defensive teep. Now, rear teep. Since my stance is here, this hip is a little back. What I need to do is when I step, I turn this knee turns forward, and then you teep. So you want to square your hips, and then when you pick up your knee about here, just like a roundhouse kick, this goes in front of this hip. Here, boom. Now, same rules apply. You try to pull your hip back. It's a little harder, but you just got to practice. Here, here. When to use one. A lot of it comes down to comfort. Most people use the lead. It's just the fastest teep. You pick it right up. A lot of mistakes I see is people constantly try to do switch with their feet and do this kind of stuff to throw a teep. Just pick it up right where it's at. We're marching already. In the rhythm of your march, just pick it up. Boom. Try to eliminate any extra steps doing all this stuff. Now, if you have to close, absolutely, you're going to step like this, or you double teep. The rear teep, again, it's where you're comfortable throwing it. If I need to get someone further, I use my rear teep to get longer. So I step and then extend that and walk through, reset my stance. Again, I step, teep, walk through. Because if I'm extending that far, remember, it's hard to pull my hip back and I'm advancing. So I use my rear teep to get closer. There are times I use my rear teep defensively, but I switch stances temporarily. So they come forward, that's a defensive teep that I really like. They come forward, I'm putting the weight on my back leg. So this becomes a lead teep pretty much, but I still call it a rear teep. Then there's versions of teeps where if you're super advanced, teep here, but you got to be careful. You don't want to hit anyone in the groin or get anywhere near someone's knee. But you can teep here, teep into the hip, stuff like that to stop someone. If they close super fast and I can't get this one up because they're kind of past my hand range or my glove, they're about this close, that's when you want to maybe switch, or you get one of these teeps from the rear where if you can jam, you can kind of stop like that. So that's my version of a teep. That's how I teach it. That's not all the details. There's much more, but this video would be 30 minutes or something. We try to cover a myriad of scenarios, but on a basic level, those are the key points of how I would teach a teep and how I use a teep. So let's go over some drills real quick. Now, if you can get a concrete wall, these are great drills. This is how I normally like to warm up my teep. So I place the ball on my foot. Remember, not letting the heel touch or letting my foot touch flat. I place the ball and I just lean. I do 10 of those on each leg. Again, the ball on my foot. Not only is that good for warming up and strengthening the hip flexors, it's helping with your power on the back end when you learn how to push and open that hip. And it's a good stretch. You really feel that stretch. From there, you can do drills like a minute timer. So when I do that drill, I do like 20 on each leg and then maybe 10 on each leg. Then you could do drills where you're just pushing off the wall. This is so beneficial. One of my first coaches, Muay Thai coaches, taught me to do this. And it made my teep so strong. So you lean into the wall and you push off. It's a tremendous way to strengthen your teep kick. Then you can do alternating, or you can do one leg at a time, either 1 minute on each leg individually or multiple minutes alternating. Then there's just the touching. And this is good for flexibility and balance. So you seriously just tap the wall. By going slow, remember, you're always turning the workout or the training into strength training. So you are strengthening your legs for teeps. So again, just tapping. Just place your foot. The reason you want that kind of strength and balance is you want to control your teep. And it makes you super heavy when someone tries to plow through your teep and knock you over or knock you off balance. Now, one of my favorite drills is on a heavy bag. And this is really good for working your balance, working your timing, and just really, really getting precise with where you place your foot when you're throwing your teep. This is because as I'm teeping this bag and it's swinging back and forth, what will happen if you don't hit it dead center is it's going to rotate and then it spins out of control. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So the drill itself is basically, once you get this going, and I've talked about this on my heavy bag video. You keep the bag out there. You don't let it come past this threshold right here. Once you get it teeping, you keep it out here. What happens when people are doing this drill is if they hit off center, it starts spinning. So I tell people you have to stop it from spinning. So once you get it spinning, you need to center your kick back and stop the spin. Another option is if you have the 6-foot bag, teeping the center is obviously what you want to do, but there are benefits to teeping low, and all that is just timing accuracy. And then you can start there and then work your way to the center. That is a very fundamental drill for teeping, and I recommend it. Now, what if you don't have a swinging bag? Because again, I've covered in my heavy bag video, I like swinging bags and I like grounded bags. Well, then you just work on your strength by going slow and balancing. This is strengthening your legs and your hip flexors, and it's improving your balance. So you just don't like move the bag too much. You kind of tap it, just like the drill I showed on the concrete wall. It's about getting used to the motion. And if you see when I place, just like I said on concrete wall, I am moving my hip as if I was going to push it. That gets me used to that motion, and it makes that motion strong. So when I do extend, my teep is really powerful. And then of course, you can work stronger teeps if you want. Now, these final drills are very helpful with balance and defense. So if you can do this without the wall, great. But if you can't, that's just a goal. Work towards being able to stand and then teep and pull back and teep and pull back. Like I can do about 4 right there when I'm demonstrating. When I was really into this drill, I think I could do 10 without holding onto the wall. But holding onto the wall is just fine. Put my hand here, I'm here, I extend, pull back. Extend, pull back. You could do sets of 5 or 10, and that really helps extend that pulling back motion. Here, hips are back to start, they're loaded. Extend, pull back. Extend, pull back. Extend, pull back. Now, as promised, let's talk about the defensive thing, and that drill is what's going to help with your defense. It makes that pulling your hips back motion very strong. And that's what you need to defend against someone grabbing your teep. When you teep and someone snatches your teep, if you have strong hips and you're able to rip that back, they cannot hold on to it. I've actually had people try to grip my teep, and when I rip back, pulling this heel towards my butt. So I always tell people it's like this string is from my knee to my shoulder and from my heel to my butt. And it goes out and then it rips back. When they're grabbing like this, my heel ripping pulls their lower glove, and I've had them fall face first from me ripping my heel back so powerful. Here, boom. So when I teep, I rip. And from doing drills like this and getting good at multiple teeps, I love a double teep where I don't put my foot down. Someone grabs my teep, boom, I rip, and then I teep them again. So when someone catches your teep, if you're good at ripping your hips back, pulling all this back, they have a hard time holding on, and they've already caught it low. So when you rip everything forward, they fall forward, or they disconnect their hands and this glove is kind of down here. So get really strong in this area as far as the way you extend, boom, and the way you rip back. When you rip back, it's really hard. And you're fast. They have a hard time even catching it. It's when you throw like a long teep that they have the time to really grip onto it. Or your teep just stays there a little longer than it should. Again, a teep is a push kick, so you're not trying to like stab them like a karate kick. You push out, pull in. push out, pull in. So those are the fundamentals of how I teach Teeps, how I use Teeps. There's obviously more details, but again, that would be a very long video. Maybe I'll do some follow-up videos. These are your standard Teeps. It's not like the angled Teeps or like your Sanchai Teeps. And there are reasons that you want to learn to throw those types of Teeps. And like I said, I'll probably do a follow-up video and cover that. But like with all things, you need to be good at the basics. So get your fundamental Teep nice and strong and technical. Then you can bring in some other things once you're balanced and confident in the way that you use your Teep. So thank you for the recommendation, guys. And some of you guys who had the questions, I tailored this video kind of to you and the questions you had been asking in the comments and on the community board. So I hope I covered that in detail. And as always, thank you for watching the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll keep this thing going. And I'll see you in the next one.